Now, when looking to finance anything, not just health, there are quite a number of questions that the potential financier or investor asks. In the private sector, there are clear metrics for measuring or evaluating whether particular projects or proposals are great. One of the things that the investor will ask is, who are the people running this? What are the opportunities? What is the context? Have they really evaluated them? What are the risks? Are they diminishing? How will they be diminished? And then decide on the deal that they'll make. They will ask about the future free cash flows of the company in terms of measuring its value, and then they'll want to get in. So that's fair for the private sector. They will decide whether to get in or not based on the metrics and the future value of this company or investment. In the public sector, and particularly in issues to do with health, the governments and other potential investors do not have that leeway. Individuals in poor countries do not have that leverage. They cannot decide whether to buy health or not, for sometimes a lot of them face life and death decisions. And that is why it leads them to spend a lot when faced with health challenges. That is why, or one of the reasons why, the world declared the right to health one of the fundamental human rights. If you remember, 1945 was coming after the Second World War. And on this backdrop of immense suffering, where countries could not afford or guarantee it, the world felt the need to guarantee the right to health. Recently, after the onset of the COVID pandemic in 2019, the world has seen a need to rejuvenate the push towards this right. And while the issues such as the COVID vaccine, the iniquities that have been born out of the stronger research in the Western countries versus the slower kind of manufacturing capacity and capabilities in the South, we've seen quite a number of challenges emerge in the vaccine distribution. But at the same time, we've seen quite a number of very good practices and experiences in weathering pandemics come from the South that the whole world could learn from. One of these good practices or good strategies in health financing has come from a very unlikely place, the East African community, comprising of partner states such as Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. And three or four of these countries have done extremely well, while two, we did not have much of the fiscal space to finance some of their health responses themselves. But together, the countries have developed a single strategy on universal health coverage financing that the world could learn quite a bit from. In this series, we'll be scoping some of the good aspects of this strategy and delivering in a very practical and simplified way how other regions may be able to replicate it. Much as the countries do not have the financial power of the average Western economy, The kind of questions they deal with are much, much more critical and much more difficult sometimes than those countries with adequate fiscal space. There are governments in this world that can decide to fund their entire health system. There are governments in this world that cannot. So we will look at the right to health and how it links to universal health coverage, and how this universal health coverage then links to the issue of health financing, and why civil society, development partners, and governments need to come together during this budget formulation, implementation, monitoring, and audit processes to ensure that some of this precious financing is not put to waste. And finally, we will look at practical ways to rejig an economy so that it can guarantee its citizens the right to health. We are aware of how difficult the journey has been, but we believe that with some of these strategies, we can achieve great universal health coverage metrics and ensure that at least most of the world will, if not all, will be covered by 2030 as part of the Sustainable Development Goal 3, Target 8. So please join us for the next episode and feel free to subscribe so that you're notified as soon as it drops. We'll be looking at the right to health, how it relates to universal health coverage, and then how all this relates to health financing in the next episode. Thank you.